For me, personally, one of the most appealing prospects of returning to the Bourne franchise was the chance to reunite with one of my favorite directors and good friends, Paul Greengrass. Paul's style is completely unique, and it was a lot of fun to collaborate with him once again. Take a look behind the scenes to see how Paul brought his signature style back to Bourne.
It's a very special franchise. It's a much-loved character.
Pre-marker.
Strangers on the street will consistently ask me, when are they going to make another Bourne movie?
Every airport I'm in or every time I'm walking down a street, that's the first question. Are you going to do another one of those Bourne movies? I don't mind being followed around by Jason Bourne. I like Jason Bourne.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Why would he come back now?
There had been rumors that Matt and Paul were going to make another one.
One thing that I always said consistently was that I'd do it if he did it. You know, and every few months it seemed like we would have a Bourne conversation, but we couldn't really seem to get anywhere until about 18 months ago.
The easy thing for us all to have done would have been to have turned up years ago and just done one without much thought. But I know I didn't want to do that, and I know Matt didn't want to do that, and that's why we didn't.
Meet me at the entrance to the corner.
We waited just because we didn't want to make another Bourne movie before we were ready with a good story.
You can only make these films if you feel it for real. So you've got to be true to the character, continue to tell that story in an original way.
Sorry, can I just double check? Everybody's happy with that, yeah?
The things that we were most concerned with is having not just another sequel, having a change in the world that was relevant and would then inspire us into telling a new story.
And the incredible relatability of Matt Damon as an actor and as the character in Jason, I think, is what gets people very excited.
I heard you were hacked.
Our enemies have become much more sophisticated.
We had the germ of an idea that would explore Bourne a decade after we'd last seen him, and explain what he'd been doing and what his state of mind was, and would propel us on a new adventure.
Bourne carries the burdens of his sins of the past, so it ultimately becomes really an existential tale for him. You know, it's only a matter of time before he's going to reach critical mass.
Clear to engage the target.
I'm accessing CCTV now.
We had to put this new chapter of the Bourne franchise into the modern world.
It's on a computer.
You know, Bourne kind of quickly finds himself matched against somebody who has a skill set that he isn't as familiar with.
We're heading into the new world. It's Bourne, but there's now a fourth version of warfare.
So what's the status?
There's this whole area of CIA activity. They're going to be working on cyber, artificial intelligence.
Heatherly is one of the key aspects of cyber research at CIA, and that's what she's a specialist in. I don't think her job existed 10 years ago.
You could almost
Go in on it.
You know what I mean? And really feel, because she's communing with it.
Yeah, yeah.
She's playing the instrument, is what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's carrying that computer with her everywhere, and it's part of her personality and what makes her feel the most powerful and yet the most safe.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, but do not push your personal agenda to the DNI.
Sort of generational shift of all these young people coming in with a new skill set. They're impatient for change.
Sir, does the asset know Bourne?
And they're as impatient for change inside the intelligence community as they are outside in the world that we see out there.
It's happened with technology and our civil liberties. To what extent people are keeping tabs on us and on our digital life.
That's when it got exciting, really, because you suddenly felt that Bourne was not in the old binary world of identity and supremacy and ultimatum. He was in a much more interesting modern world where his loyalties was much less clear than it once had been.
Drive.
I think that's testimony to Paul always having a great sense of what's timely and what's contemporary. That was something that he felt very compelled to start our story in.
It wasn't supposed to go like this. I wanted to talk.
It feels like it's the next chapter in the story, and that's what I most wanted.
I know who I am. I remember what happened. I remember all of it.
They actually picked up all the threads that they had laid out, or they brought it back together.
Remembering everything doesn't mean you know everything.
Paul knows all the kind of clues that he's put out there, and he's very concerned and very precise in that he wants to make it all come together.
I'm talking about Richard Webb, your father.
Not bad.
Paul's style is that we feel like we're witnessing things real time.
He's observing the reality as opposed to forcing a situation that he maybe imagined months ago. So he manages to be very methodical and then also very spontaneous.
He's looking at the movie as it's being made, and it's kind of speaking back to him, and then that's giving him new ideas.
That you won't be able to take your eye line and you can't reset, but I'm thinking that you can take your eye line, don't you think?
Both Paul and I came out of a documentary background. We try and just be a bit more open and free and looking for that kind of that genuine thing that happens between human beings. And, you know, that privileged place that a camera can be.
3, 2, 1, go. Barry and Paul have a shorthand, so Barry's like an extension of Paul in that way. He also knows when something's good and when something's real. That's what you really want with your director and your cinematographer.
Coming around a little this way, yeah.
He keeps the cameras in motion all the time. I've almost never seen a fixed frame. They're either handheld, they're on a slide tray, they're on a dolly, they're hanging from a bungee cord. There's a big, beautiful crane on top of one of these cars, and that thing's moving in all directions at once. He uses just about anything to keep the lens in motion.
And action. It's a very special franchise to me, obviously. So you've got to continue to tell that story in a way that people will go, oh, that felt like a Bourne movie. Right. We have to give our audience very early on proof that we're not kidding around. We're not just turning up. And I said, unfortunately, that comes down to you, Matt.
Yeah, I'm a little older, so so it takes longer. But yeah, no, it's a lot of weight training and a lot of boxing, cross training, strict diet, and stuff like that. I'll look up at you, like literally look at you and see you.
Actually been 15 years, I think I counted, since Identity, which is all of my adult life. It's kind of, so far, it's kind of crazy.
No, it's been a defining role in my life and my career, and it's been a huge role for me on a whole number of levels. You know, to do something 4 separate times in your career, it's gonna follow you around.
One of the great things about these movies is we've all become really good friends.
The great thing about working with the same people is it goes back to that issue of trust. I'm excited to be working on a Paul Greengrass movie again. He's a great person to work for. I just trust him completely.
When you make a film, you want people you can trust, and there's no better friend and colleague than Matt. It was absolutely exciting to see suddenly, oh, there's Jason Bourne. You know what I mean? He's back. That was absolutely terrific. Absolutely brilliant.
When an asset from the CIA is hunting you down, you're gonna end up in a chase or two. Over the years, Bourne has been in his fair share of car chases, foot chases, and motorcycle chases. This time, we pulled out all the stops to create the most exhilarating, heart-pounding chases the franchise has seen so far. Here's an inside look at what we did.
We're trying to make a very grounded sequence and trying to put an audience within the action.
Hold on! It's not like a stunt sequence that you would find in other films.
They're hard work, these scenes, because a lot of people, a lot of extras, police, burns, cars turned over, broken windows.
I'm gonna be doing some really hair-raising stuff on a motorcycle.
We're not really just going for spectacle, it's all Bourne-centric. So it's coming up with something that we are doing practically, not with visual effects.
Everything you see is real, there's no cheating, it's all real stuff.
It's very grounded action, and it's very character-driven action, so we're in there with the actors are doing a hell of a lot.
That was part of selling that this is the authentic Bourne experience.
Bourne's trying to save Nicky. The asset is trying to kill the pair of them. There's obviously a lot going on. There's a big story that we had to tell.
It's a mad chase through the riots. The most important thing is keeping it safe. You know, we're doing high speeds, things can go wrong,
So we've got to be prepared for if things go wrong.
Couldn't really do a car chase because, you know, there's thousands of people everywhere and, you know, you don't really want to be ploughing people down. So it was a bike chase we come up with.
Whenever we can, we use remote cameras. So either they're positioned in the road or on vehicles, just so there isn't an operator in harm's way.
A police bike is used in a chase, so there are lots of needs for the bike. For me, it was very clear that we had to use lightweight enduro bikes and dress them up to look like police bikes, which would enable us to do the kind of stuff that we wanted to do that would completely destroy a real bike. So to get through the sequence, we had 26 of those.
It's always difficult when there's two people on a bike, and we had great people, you know, riding the bikes.
For most of the bike chase, there's two people on the bike. That presents all its own problems straight away. The off-road bikes are traditionally made for one person, so we had to completely strip them and design a subframe on the rear that would enable two people to be on the bike.
I rode the motorcycle, but I didn't do any of the incredibly hairy stuff that I never would have been able to get insured for. They have this guy, Paul, who was like the best enduro rider in Europe, who just did things that it would take a lifetime to train for.
Matt did a lot, but the specialist stuff, you thought, oh, that's really, you know, I could do that on a bike. And then you sort of get on it, and no, there's no way. These guys are fantastic.
It was tricky stuff, but he actually made it look really easy.
Well, we have a great stunt motorcyclist in Paul, and we have a girl, Katie, on the back. And it's actually her first movie as a stunt performer, and she's doing a fantastic job. I mean, they're very brave and very skilled.
What's great about technology today is face replacement. Jason Bourne's supposed to be an expert at everything, so what happens is I get surrounded by all these experts, and they help me do all of it that I can, and then when I can't do it, they step in and they do it, and now they've got the ability to actually put my face on this guy Paul's body, so it's going to look just like Jason Bourne's doing him in the movie. You want it to feel seamless so that people buy the magic trick.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Instead of the asset being on a motorcycle, which would have made telling the story of Bourne getting away a little more difficult, a little more challenging, it was decided that we put him in a car.
So he's driving his Volkswagen that's pretty much the whole front end's on fire.
We had a mortar on the front of the car and it explodes. What we found out was it took all the oxygen around the car away and stalled the car. So we had to rework that. So we decided that what we were going to do is run all the air intakes under the car and out the side so it was getting clean air. And it worked.
We've got video monitors in there for him to sort of see, but it's still really tricky.
We systematically destroyed that car. We drove it into a wall at the end.
He's always using the particular characteristics of whatever vehicle he's in to his advantage. He can go down alleyways, he can go in smaller spaces.
And so he takes him into a place where only the bike can go.
It's a mad chase up and down stairs.
There's hundreds and hundreds of staircases here for us to choose from. So for sort of our story of what we're telling, it was actually a great location.
It's really difficult to film because our cameras are quite heavy, and so we've got another motorbike that chases it. It looks really exciting.
We always want the movies to feel like they're in the real world.
We've got very tight corners, we're going at high speed. It's full-on carnage.
It's real gritty, down and dirty stuff.
There's a lot of force and energy that'll be on display.
For our climactic Las Vegas sequence, we had unprecedented access to the Las Vegas Strip. Shutting down one of the busiest cities was no easy feat. Here's an inside look at what we did.
As unkind of Bourne-like as Las Vegas might seem, it is actually kind of the perfect place to have the whole thing culminate.
All right, set, background, and action.
It is a glitzy, flashy city, but we are taking a very real eye towards what the city looks like and how it works.
I think that makes it more exciting to people because we're in the real place and it really brings that realism to the scenes and the landscapes that we're seeing in the background.
And it's also a great place for Jason Bourne because it's got the sort of front of house and back of house. Bourne is moving between parts of the world that are familiar to people and the back of house that isn't so familiar. That you get in Vegas for sure.
You want me to take a left once I get through there? Yeah, I think that's fine. You know, I've shot here before, obviously Ocean's 11, that was a big production, and Behind the Candelabra, we worked here. But this is definitely on another level.
When you have producers like Frank Marshall and Greg Goodman, anything is possible. So we put something down on page, we crossed our fingers, and we got it.
From a production standpoint, it's all in the planning. It's the only way to get this kind of result. We've been planning this for a long, long, long time.
Special effects, vehicles at high speed, complicated stunt work against a clock, night after night after night after night.
For the last week, we've been shooting 24/7. The first unit starts at 7 in the morning, finishes at 7 p.m. The second unit, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and then the first unit takes over again. So it's been an amazing dance that we've been doing here.
Greg Goodman got permission for us to take over Las Vegas and gave us the astonishing sort of free range that we had.
I came in to Las Vegas with a very clear sort of request, hotel operators and the casino operators, about what it was we were trying to do. And luckily, we got a good response.
Big shout out to the Aria Casino, who were fantastic.
When you have an opportunity like this, the answer is always, yes, let's figure out how to do it. He said, it might be a little extensive when we get here.
It was definitely lots and lots and lots and lots of legwork. But it started with we want everything.
We always have to remember, we still have a business to run. And we have 10,000 guests that are in this building at any given time, so we can't just say, okay, we're gonna film today, everybody leave.
They'd roll with the punches. We'd come in one day and say, oh, actually, we need to be on the other side of the casino doing something else. And they go, okay, well, we can't do it right now, but in 3 hours we can do it.
We didn't just use the casino, and we didn't just use the front porte cochere. We used the convention center, the rafters, the loading docks. We were in the villa, the back of the house. We're gonna do Sky Suites tonight, actually. I don't know that we're part of Aria that we didn't film.
Sounds good. C-Mark. Action.
They've really bent over backwards, being flexible and adaptable to what we need, and it's really paying off.
Background and action.
We shot in the casino the other day, and there was Matt Damon, and he was just folding into the background like Jason Bourne does, and hiding in plain sight.
It's even better when I can put a hat on. I think there's something about being 5'10", 5'11". You know, Ben Affleck, who I grew up with, he's like 6'4", and he just sticks out no matter what. But I've always had a much easier time melting into a crowd.
I saw him, he hasn't seen me.
Yeah, but when you come, you guys have got to keep coming and accelerate around that corner.
I'm getting a gun in a Bourne movie.
Everything that happens in Vegas in the casinos is off the chain. It's crazy what they're shooting right now.
We did a scene the other day with 1,600 extras, which is more than I've ever worked with on any movie. This is the biggest crowd scene I've ever done.
The hotel blocked out a large portion of their convention space for us. This is exactly where a convention like this would happen.
The Consumer Electronics Show was taking place in the hotel we were filming in. So we were actually able to go and check out a real-life technology conference just before portraying, a technology conference.
Our design department did an excellent job creating an image and a reality that is very, very believable.
I did research at DEF CON and Black Hat last August in Las Vegas, and they're a little more subdued. A lot of the vendors that are here were there, but we've also gone after more high-tech vendors, so it gets a little more gadgetry.
The level of detail and realism that all the departments have kind of put into it is incredible.
We have, I believe, 40 real vendors. They brought their own graphics and signage. The faux vendors, we created the graphics for those. But most of it, 99% of it's real. The real vendors, the real people, the real product.
We always want the movies to feel like they're in the real world, or it's like you create this Bourne world and you want it to feel seamless. So the way to do a convention is to actually do the convention.
Just going to do a test gunfire so you all hear what it's going to sound like.
Nothing comes out the barrel.
Solid plug.
Say again?
Solid plug round.
Oh, solid plug. Okay, that's what solid plug round. It's also got less gunpowder than a real bullet, so it's not going to be as loud. So here's 2 shots. But it's enough that the slide goes back and it ejects the shells. So that's what I'll fire. I'm going to fire about 14 of them running. All of our friends over there are all stunt people, and we'll all bump into each other, and it's going to be a hot mess. So there you have it.
There is a believable style to it, like if it was stolen images from reality.
Bang! Left, top here, top it here. There you go. Okay.
Are you having fun? Yeah, now back to work.
There we go. That's the producer talking.
You know when you're sitting down to watch a Bourne movie, you're going to get some of the most innovative action imaginable. To bring it all to life, we've got a great team of stunt trainers and performers who work exceptionally hard to make sure the final product looks incredible. Here's an inside look at how we did it.
Where's the right place to finish this story? That was the question.
It's kind of a historic moment outside on the Las Vegas Strip.
What we're doing on the Strip is a completely different animal.
Shooting what really is the biggest set piece that we've ever done in any of the movies right there on the Strip.
Roll cameras, please. Rolling. Here we go, team. And background action. 3, 2, 1. Vehicles on the way.
I heard the rumour that they wanted to do a car chase here.
There's never been a car chase in Vegas, you know. Never. I mean, it's just incredible. And that is not a CGI chase. That is us on the Strip, hundreds of cars at vastly high speed.
We're very excited to have Simon Crane with us on this one, directing the second unit. He's a master of these kind of action sequences.
Can we just bring the edge arm round just to get a quick light, because this is the configuration.
Okay. It's completely amazing what they've let us do. To close the Strip for a half-a-mile section, to race cars down the street at 60, 70 miles an hour.
It was like mind-boggling, you know, you go out there at midnight and as far as you can see on both sides of the road, the entire Strip with hundreds of our vehicles and stunt drivers.
I can't even wrap my brain around the scale of what we're doing.
We have 150 extras with cars, 50 stunt people with cars. We're gradually going through the cars because we're crashing a lot of them.
Last night, in fact, I was shocked to see how many police we had out on the road. But you need them. It's got to be very, very secure. We're doing high-speed vehicle work up and down the Strip. We have a wrong-way chase against oncoming traffic. It takes a lot of people and a lot of choreography to pull that off.
Cut it outside. Just reset, please. Reset.
We do a lot of testing and rehearsal. So then when we take it, say, onto the Strip, we know where things are going to end up, and it's safe for everyone.
We're trying remote cars, we're trying Canon cars. So it's back to the drawing board a bit. We're adding modifications to the various vehicles.
I sort of wanted to show the weight and invincibility of the SWAT vehicle. So we actually had a limousine that we fired into it on a cannon. It totally squished the whole limousine.
The real SWAT vehicles weigh like 5 ton, but for us it wouldn't work because it'd take too long to get up to speed. So we built one from the ground up, but it's still strong, but gets to our sort of desired speed a hell of a lot quicker.
We had to make it realistic enough that if it was going to run through cars or whatever, that it had enough weight to get through like it really was a real SWAT truck.
One of the biggest stunts, we have the SWAT vehicle drives through probably 10 cars. But also at the same time, Bourne is on a parallel trajectory and he's got to miss those cars as they're flying off towards him.
All right, stand by, please.
It's the Las Vegas Strip. It's supposed to be sort of 8 o'clock at night. It's busy, so there's so many sets of traffic lights down there. At some point, you would come up against traffic. So rather than go up the pavement, the idea was just to go straight through the cars.
The cars do get flung up in the air quite a bit. Just be aware there could be bits that come off.
This is really going to be a nerve-wracking shot for me. We have the cameras being triggered by the car. And then we have a truck plowing all the cars. It's going to be quite unique.
Morning, come aside, we're rolling. Here we go, team. And 3, 2, 1, action on. Cut.
Did you see that? That was nice.
Everyone's safe, team. Everyone's safe. All good. Everyone's safe.
Play it back.
That was fun.
We all lived very close to set, and I lived on the, 60th something floor, and I got to look down in the evenings when I wasn't working and to see some of the extraordinary action scenes that went on down there. I felt like I was front row watching it.
We're just setting up for the finale, where Bourne will make one last-ditch effort, and he literally jumps on top of the SWAT vehicle.
Probably the trickiest thing we're doing here. At the speeds they're doing, they're covering like 72 foot a second. So getting them in the right place at the same time is like I've got probably 1,000th of a second. That's the difference between being in the right place and the wrong place.
It's meant to catch on the hood. We put some cabling on the top, where the car has some hooks underneath. So as it jumps, hopefully it's like an aircraft carrier.
I'm sure cars have jumped onto other things before. I know a couple of films that have done it where they've actually used rigs to do it, or special effects or visual effects. Again, we're doing it for real.
We've tested it into boxes. We're gambling, but we've done all our homework, and we'll see how it goes.
Eventually, we come through the doors over there.
Our SWAT truck starts outside. Our charger's strapped on top. As it drives forward, the cable will pull it off the top through our awning.
Fortunately enough, this place is getting torn down pretty soon.
The Riviera is now closed.
That place means a lot to a lot of people. And the fact that we're doing anything with it before it's gone is very special.
SWAT truck then drives through these doors here, down these steps, to hitting the first 3 sections and banks of the machines, and that will be our cut.
There was nothing inside, so all the stuff inside now is all ours. Well, it's lucky because I'm going to smash it all.
We haven't dressed the whole casino because we don't need to. We've given him what he needs to see.
We've asked all of our background, Jordan and Fletch, to give those guys a big semicircle around the outside of that. Our stunt performers will be on the inside here.
There's 250 extras, there's 60 stunt people, and it's going to be good. 3, 2, 1, action!
Madness of a film set.
These car crashes outside Bellagio and Paris is just amazing.
This is totally insane.
It's an army of people to make it all work.
Okay, got that?
Cut. Got that one.
Jolly good.
For this film, we showcased Bourne's bare-knuckle boxing skills, which meant getting one of the best boxing trainers in the world to show me the ropes, so to speak. I worked with Matt Baiamonte to make sure Bourne's skills were top-notch. Here's a look at some of the work that went into making Bourne a bare-knuckle boxer. You find him in a very dark place at the beginning of the movie.
He's growing increasingly unable to live off the grid. And in the end, he's driven to express that torment through underground fighting circuits.
You get a sense that he's doing this not out of any kind of healthy desire to
to compete with other athletes or anything like that. He's got all of these demons and he's tortured and he's suffering. So Paul wanted to construct something that was a physical manifestation of that.
Talking to Paul and Matt of, okay, what have you been doing for the last 9 years? Why are you in this position and state?
So he finds himself in another world where it's not necessarily only tactical. It's actually in a situation where he's competing for money.
There was 2 bare knuckle fights to start off with. The first one was like a bigger fight, and then when we got there on the day, we started talking. What if he just comes in and just one blow just takes the guy out completely?
He was going to go down to the floor.
And Matt loved the idea of it.
Doing a little bare knuckle fighting. He's basically pounding other human beings into oblivion and getting pounded himself into oblivion just as a way to try to cope with the thoughts in his head that he can't get away from.
All right, shooting.
Matt is actually quite proficient already with boxing. He has his own boxing coach.
I started boxing a little over 15 years ago for the first Bourne movie. The director, Doug Liman, said he wanted the character to walk like a boxer. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And he said, I don't either, but there's something about the way those guys move. They're really economic in their movements. You can just tell that they're ready for anything. So I just started taking boxing lessons, and I loved it. And I felt like it was really helpful. Now it's been something I've been doing for 15 years, and it's just a lot of fun. I first started training in LA with a guy named Terry Claybon, who was incredible, and he was the first person to teach me. He worked with Denzel Washington on The Hurricane. And then when I moved to Miami, I was looking for someone, and what you really want to find is somebody who works with professional boxers, and Matt just works with a ton of fighters.
We're just going over some of the fight stuff that Roger came up with, and then some stuff that I kind of added in, just to get them warmed up and loose and ready to go.
Matt, his trainer, does a lot of training with him. Then Roger, the fight trainer, starts going through the choreography and stuff like that, and then we put the two together.
For me, everything that I try to do as a coordinator is to make sure that it's based in reality, that there's an application to every movement. And what I did was basically utilize the bare knuckle boxing research that I've done, looking at YouTube and working with friends that have been doing it on their own.
Fight choreography is really like dancing. It really is. You have two people and they have to be doing, it's not a real fight, so they have to know exactly what the other person's doing to kind of sell every single move. And so you have to be completely in coordination.
The second bare knuckle fight, which he did with a guy called Brian Nichols, was really amazing. The pair of them trained for weeks.
Brian's actually a bare knuckle fighter. He's had professional fights before, and the guy is an absolute savage.
I'm like a rough old fighter. I don't know why they picked me, but they did.
When he starts warming up, I think the whole crowd gets nervous, even though they're really not hitting each other. He's got that intensity. You know, he's jumping around like a fighter in the ring. He's getting himself juiced up, and I'm like, he may actually hit somebody today.
All right, guys, enjoy. Roll sound. Backgrounds.
This is a perfect recreation. We have these fights in Miami all the time, which are underground, and you actually feel like you're in a fight. People are yelling, money's getting put up for bets, people are getting bloody, they're getting broken noses, broken jaws, losing teeth. It's perfect.
The atmosphere is fantastic. It just gives you a real buzz. It makes you feel like I'm back there. You know, I love it. I love it.
You didn't give him real beer, did you?
Not yet. With boxing, there's obviously certain rules that you've got. You know, you can't punch below the belt, can't throw punches from behind. Here, you can pretty much do anything you want. You can gouge, bite, kick, stamp. So, you know, it's quite a bit different to what, say, Bourne's done in previous films and previous fights.
For me, it was an interesting kind of take because obviously he's doing something that is not normal in his world, but he's still training and to compete in a very, very bloody, ruthless game.
And then he comes and throws those two things and we lock up and he pushes me back in here. And that's the moment when
We see each other.
I saw it as an opportunity to kind of hone his technique and yet still stay true to Bourne. With the Kali style, the dirty boxing, the Filipino style, the Wing Chun, and the tactical CQC.
Matt Damon has been absolutely fantastic, easy to work with and great mover. As you'll see, Matt's in great shape. He's in really good shape, he's fit, and then he keeps going, he just keeps going.
It is a dance, and that timing and the fluidity and moving with Matt without hurting each other was a very, very important part of that, as well as making it look as realistic as possible. And at the same time, both Matt and Brian, and I told them, give each other some love, meaning at this point, if you're hitting to the body, yeah, go ahead and make a little contact. And Matt was, he was brilliant, and he was, as people will see, he really, really trained up for it and was in great shape for it.
With Brian, like everybody, I always tell them, I'm going to hit you. Like, I'm not purposely, but I know that we're going really fast and the choreography is really specific, but accidents happen. And for these guys, accidents don't happen. I rarely get hit, but I'm always accidentally hitting someone. But my deal with these guys is I always buy them a bottle of champagne for every time I hit them. So Brian, for instance, got a case of champagne at the end of the fight. And for these guys who are pro fighters, like, I'm not hitting them that hard, so they actually like the bargain. It's actually good for them. They've been hit for less in their lives, so they don't mind.
Set and background!
They put like 200% into it. I mean, they really did look like they was beating the crap out of each other.
What a fight that was.